Listen, I think it's a trade-off. Whatever you do is about what you're willing to sacrifice for it, right? So a lot of times, and we're probably going to talk about this in our segment, but if you're not willing to make a sacrifice to get where you need to be, realize that the ability to move up and up is going to be limited.
Yeah.
Because people, in order to get to those levels, are making serious sacrifices, whether it's family time, relationships, being able to do different activities. Those are sacrifices that people make to get to that level.
Yeah.
And some people can handle it, and some people are like, hey, I can live with those things. And some people are like, hey, you know what? I don't want to make that sacrifice. I'd rather get to this point and still be comfortable, but still have to be able to do A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what you're willing to do or what you want to do.
Yeah, and
I've never stopped. I'm just playing with the thing.
And I think Steve is really speaking from Steve's point of view. We had this conversation on Friday. Friday?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He had this conversation with me on Friday, and he said one of the things that he regretted the most, well, not regretted, one of the things that he thought about as a potential, holder backer, and I know that's not a technical term, was that he had made a decision early in his career that he never wanted to go past the VP level, because he had seen what it took to live past the VP level, and he said, I never wanted to be that guy. And then we were sitting there as we were thinking about this episode upcoming, and he was saying, I wonder if that held me back a bit. I wonder if I should have gone a different direction.
I definitely think it held me back, because for me, I knew that to get to that level, it was a sacrifice. Even to where I'm in now, I used to travel a lot, and now I don't travel as much, but I used to travel, be away for weeks at a time, come home. Initially, the kids were like, oh, would you go? Would you bring me back? And everything else. Right. And then all of a sudden, it was like, hey, you coming in to do it? I'm like, not even a hi, nothing. I was like, dang, are they missing me? Or is it more me missing them because they got used to me not being there?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I didn't like that feeling. So for me, I was like, if I went to another level, I can't imagine what's going to be like, because I'm never going to be home. I never see my kids. And I always made a point for me that whatever activity they had, especially I like sports, so I try not to miss any sports activity. So I would fly out at a certain time because it was always on the weekends, but I missed maybe 1 or 2 sporting events in my entire time because I made a conscious decision not to.
Now, it's funny because you kind of went 180 degrees the other direction now, because you went from being Mr. Corporate to now you have a stay-at-home wife, right?
I've always wanted that. Though.
Yeah, it's traditional now. Right? You have a stay-at-home wife who works at the church. You are like, I'm only going to go up to this level because I want to make all this soccer meet. Versus where in Oswego, you weren't thinking about any of that at 18. You were like, I'm just trying to get as much money and as fly a car as I possibly could.
I think that's all our dream, right? We wanted a jet set lifestyle, but things change, right? I had kids, life changed, priorities change, and those things didn't matter as much to me. I wanted to make enough money where we were comfortable, but I didn't want to sacrifice what this provided me too. That's a sort of fulfillment that I get also by being around my family and kids and stuff, and seeing them grow. I tell you, a long time ago, I was a rep in Queens, and I went to see this doctor. I'm calling this doctor, and he says to me, he's telling me about his kids, making these relationships, and he's telling me about his kids. So as he's telling me the stories of the kids sounds like she's like 15, 16, and I said, actually no, sorry, the stories sound like she was more like 5, 6. So I was like, hey, how old is your daughter? And he was like 26. 26? I said, my goodness.
And that's the stories you have to tell. That's more women.
Yeah, and he said that because he was a doctor, he worked so hard during the years that he missed all of that time. Right. So the only memories he had was that, and he regretted that. And at that point, I'm talking from a business standpoint, one of the best decisions he made, I got. But he says, if you can, spend as much time with your kids as possible, because you're never going to get that time back, and they're going to grow, and they're going to have memories, and you're not going to be able to just partake in any of that. And it's funny because maybe a few years later, I ran into a guy, and he says that his wife was, they were in a car with his wife and the kids, and they were telling stories. And the daughter was like, do you remember that, Daddy? And the dad was like, no. And she was like, oh, you're right, because you were never home.
Oh, yeah.
So it was sad. To me, it's sad.
Yeah.
That's a hit.
Harsh.
Yeah. And I got that hit maybe 4 or 5 years ago, my daughter, for my birthday, she wrote a card, and in the card she has like, it's like a page long, but it says, I wish you could get off your phone and spend some time. I was like, my goodness, so all those things struck a chord with me.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think I ever got specific advice about like work or business, but what's interesting is that I've always wanted to be successful and make it, and so I was like driven to go, and Rob can attest, perhaps on my own pace, because I didn't really conform to like the strict like work models. But I when you were talking, I was thinking, where did that sounds very familiar to like stay and not miss any of your kids, like their progression. And it just dawned on me, it was actually my wife who pushed for that. Because if it wasn't for her, really, I'd be like, I'll be up from 9 until 10, until the money's made and things are there, and that would have been it. But she really stressed just being at home and not missing the kids and the events that were going on. And so I would say what my eldest now is like 22, 24. So it was somewhere in that period, it was late, that I got that message in regard to like good business advice in terms of what to do with relation to kids. I didn't have that.
But it happens even when I'm like, I don't have kids, so I have that flexibility to work as long. But there's been life choices I've had to make, like family member dies, and then there's a funeral, and I'm like, I had a trial coming up at the same period, so I can't ask to start the trial later because it is locked in. So it's like I got to call people more than once. I've had to be like, I can't come to the funeral, I can't come to this family event because work demands that I be there, and I can't pass it off to someone else as a solo. So I can't be like, this person can cover. A lot of things you can get, if it's like a one shot, someone's going to court, I can get someone to cover it that day. But when it's a trial, that's on me. I'm the one that's lived with the case for like a year. I know all the ins and outs. And so I'm like, I've had to make bad decisions where I'm like, I just can't make it. And then people feel like, I don't care when I do, but it's hard to explain to them when they're not sort of in that professional atmosphere where your responsibility sometimes comes first to your client before it comes to family and friends. And it sucks, but I try to.
Those are the choices you have to make.
Yeah.
I think for me, I try to, wherever possible, make sure that I made it to as many of my son's events as possible. I think that was something that was always a key for me. Since I've always wanted kids, like being present was one of those things that was just not even a question. So probably me more so than his mother, I was at all of the events and I was on this, PTAs and involved in all that fun sort of stuff because it was a choice that I made. And I was out of the office so that way I could try to make sure that I was at all of his science project affairs, all of his Black history competitions, all of his dances.
Yeah, he's a good dancer, brother.
He is a good dancer. He gets that from me.
I'm editing that out.
First, I have yet to see you dance.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm a good dancer.
I think we're having another segment.
I just said dance version.
Right. But that being said, that was always a priority. So I tried to make sure that the life that I had kind of worked around making sure that my child was always felt that I was involved. Now, when I was there, sometimes I was on the phone. So that was often the case, and I was
there and you're kind
of there, right? Like I was good for the, hey, I'm here, but I'm on a conference call. So like I'm kind of paying attention with one eye and one ear, but at least I'm here. So he could look up and I could wave real quick and then go back to like paying notes and stuff. But, that was the kind of trade-off that I took it with.
So now, with all that said, is there something you do differently now that you're, 20 years into your career? That you would say, if I had to do it all over again, I would do this different. Like part of this whole deal is that, there's a lot of mentorship particularly for black men between like 1 and 18. Tons of mentorship. And then from like 18 to 40, zero mentorship. Right? So, that's kind of why we're here. So there was something that you could say from someone going from 18 to 30 about progressing this career and navigating this. Well, what do you think you'd say? What would be the piece, the gem you'd want to give?
I think I'd say when you know that you're going to have kids, or when you're thinking about having kids, backdate probably about 5 years and go as hard as you can to the body. Because when you start having kids and that's when your focus is, your whole focus should shift, right? And you can't go as hard, you shouldn't go as hard to the body as you did when you have a kid, because you're gonna have sleepless nights, or your partner will have sleepless nights, and hopefully you're involved and you're not missing out on those times. So if you know that you wanna have a kid at, say, 33, from like 26 to 33, go hard to the body, because you have that window then.
Right, that's your time to really
That's
get
your
after
time, right? When you start to say, all right, cool, I want to have a kid at 33, understand that you have to throttle it back, because you can't go as hard to the body at 33 and be a new dad and have a successful relationship.
But how do you ramp that back? Like once you are ingrained in go, it's hard to start pulling back and be like, all right, let me.
Totally get that. I don't got that answer.
Look,
That's the unfinished part.
that's it.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do both, because people make conscious decisions about what they want to
Correct.
do, right? So if you're going to go, I think one of the things I think about with that question is that I think that I would have probably taken more risk in terms of, okay, do I leave this company? Do I have to stay 100% loyal to this company that's not always 100% loyal to you at times? So I think that would be one of the things that, sometimes you got to trust yourself. I think a lot of times we play it safe. Right, so we're like, I think this is going to happen. I'll get promoted again, and maybe you will. But the jumps in salaries and jumps in responsibilities comes with sometimes jumping ship, and I think I didn't do that. So if I was to go back, I may have probably tried to do that. Honestly, the only reason why I left the company that was before this one, I've been with 3 companies in all my life. So I don't know how long I've been working. So like 25, 27 years, 3 companies total. And I was like, wow, I'm a lifer or something with them. And the company I'm at now, my intent, well, I shouldn't say all that, but anyway, the reason why I jumped ship was really because my wife was like, listen, you need to go. She's like, just go, just try it, see what happens. And I tried it, and my company said, hey, if you go to this company and you don't like it, give me a call and you get your job back immediately. So after the first day, some crazy stuff happened, because I came from a company that was very conservative, and this company, they were just like, employees were saying anything they wanted to say. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like in my old company, you just can't say that loud with not being reprimanded in some way, some form of fashion. And I called my wife up, called Tim up, and she was like, that's great. They opened there. That's exactly what you need. I was like, really? I loved it after that. Actually, I started to love it.
Okay.
But again, I got comfortable. So I think the whole thing about it is, I would say never get too comfortable. Yes. And I think that would be probably the best advice. Like, do your job really well. Don't get so comfortable. Like, hey, I love it, because I do. I love people I work with. But stay a little uncomfortable, so you're like, all right, it's time to go, so I can advance myself.
I would say along with that, not only being able to move freely, knowing that the companies are really not loyal to you, right? They're loyal to what you can provide them. And in that time frame, I would say, and I didn't do this as much, but as a business owner myself, it's to build mastery during that time. And to do that, you need to be flexible and go from company to company and master and learn your craft and get really good at it. Because after that point, when you're at like third, and you need to slow down, and I agree with you, how to do it, one has to
Right.
kind of figure that out on their
Yeah.
own. But to be able to do that at that point, now you can command money because you've mastered something. And it's when you slow down, it's like, no, I don't have to work that hard. I need to work smarter, right? And so now if folks are coming, folks will come. I remember when I started making money within social services at 19. I think I was telling you guys the last time, like $19,000, right? And it was like that was nothing. When I decided to go and do things on my own, that's at that point, folks were just like, oh, we'll pay you like, $50 or something like that for like, let's say it's for a session to do something. I was like, are you kidding me?
Right.
I don't.
Right. I'm well beyond.
I don't open one eye for 50 bones, right? so at that point, developing that mastery, then and I did it late, and perhaps some in haste. Then you can say you can command what you need for your family, because I think most of us here have built that up where you can say, all right, this is what I'm worth. I know my value, right? And to do that, you need to build that value in that time frame. But being able to say, this company is really not giving me what I need in terms of developing my skill sets, so I'm going to go somewhere else.
Now, Bobby, you've been on both sides of that, right? Because you've been at your own firm and so how's that been different?
I was gonna say the best thing it helped when the wife was like, just go. You're happier on your own, because working for the other, I've been like the big firm, the smaller firms, and it was always miserable because I couldn't choose what clients I want to work for. Like they put me in a division, like, oh, this is what you're working at. You're working in bankruptcy, or you're working in litigation. And then if I wanted to do something else, like, well, we don't think you have the skill set. How do they know? So, I think one of the best things is going off on my own, seeing what I liked. The first year I was just like, okay, I'm going to try and see what areas of law that I think I'm good at, and then scale it back. And I think one of the things, and when you're asking like advice you got, one was try to be specific and pick a couple of things that you're good at, and that's it. And and sort of build up from there. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to try to do everything. I'm going to try to scale it back. And once I did that, that helped. And I think the other thing was the fear, because the first time around, it was like, am I going to make enough money? I need to go back and work for somebody because I don't think I'm going to bring enough business in, and how am I going to keep this going? And Jen said to me when I was going off, she's like, I like this house. And I'm like, yeah, so do I. She's like, no, I really like this house. And I was like, all right, so let me plan
use this house.
Okay, going forward, this is how much I need to make sure I can make the mortgage payment and all that. And then from there, it was like, okay, the rest came along. And then also, I got past that fear of like, I'm not going to make it, or I'm not going to be able to be in business. So now, even though I advertise, everything is word of mouth. Like every client I have is word of mouth, and someone else tells them, oh, this guy's good. So I work on, trying to establish that. But I'm so much happier working for myself. And I got to figure out the balance part in terms of trying to be there and do all this stuff. And I think if I had kids, I probably would make more an effort to be there.
But that's the unfinished part, right? You're still figuring it out. None of us has a perfect.
But I like, working for myself has been great in terms of the confidence, and also feeling like I can do this, and I can, and I'm not going to fail.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah. And for me, I'll make 2 points, which is, one, Rich is right. If I was going to say anything to, somebody out there, if you're watching, it would be really master your craft. Like you really have to get to the point where you're good at whatever it is, in a way that other people, will take it to this level and you're here, right? You really have to say, whatever your craft is, I'm a programmer, there isn't anything that you can put in front of me, I feel programmatically, that I can't solve.
But you have to push yourself past your comfort level, what
Yes,
people
absolutely.
like to do.
Absolutely. And that was one, I didn't even come into this career in programming. I came in through another door. But, now it's at the point where I'm, it doesn't even matter what language it's in. I'm like, you're having a problem in your software? I don't even need to know your language. Just give me the code and I'm going to solve your problem. I don't care what it is, because I've reached that level of mastery that, I can say that. And a lot of times when you see people who aren't reaching that next level, I always say to them, how many hours are you dedicating mastering this craft? How much are you really working at being the best at this? How much research are you doing? And I found that that's where they tend to be.
Yeah, because people assume that they're good at something.
That's right.
And you're like,
they're
there's
not
self-awareness. You're like,
necessarily-
well, does that really match up?
That's right. That self-awareness of where your skills really are.
It's like Gladwell says, 10,000 hours
Yeah.
is where you get that level.
Yeah.
And you don't even know how good you are. Like you can say, I'm really good in your company.
Right.
When you can go to another company, they're like, no.
Yeah.
Correct.
This is how you do it. Or you're just doing it a little slower, etc. It's when you go around and you see other folks, then you're like, wow, okay, right? Now I have to up my game, and you don't do that until you start to expand out in your company.